He stood alone on a ridge drenched in blood and rain. Around him, the cries of the wounded echoed into the night. Smoke curled from the shattered earth, the air thick with gunpowder and fear. But through the chaos, one man whispered only a single prayer: "Lord, help me get one more." This is the true story of a man who walked into the gates of hell without a weapon, without hate, without fear. A man who fought not to kill, but to save. His name was Desmond Thomas Doss, and this is his story. He would become one of the greatest heroes of World War II. But when it all began, he was just a quiet boy from a small American town, Lynchburg, Virginia, 1920s. A young Desmond Doss runs barefoot across the grass, chasing his brother through the woods behind their house. Their laughter carries through the summer air, but in that laughter hides the beginning of something dark and sacred. One afternoon, a fight between the two boys goes too far. Desmond picks up a brick and throws it. It hits his brother square on the head. His brother collapses. For a moment, Desmond thinks he's killed him. He freezes. His small hands tremble. And from that day on, he makes a vow to God, a vow he will carry all his life. His mother, a devoted Seventh-day Adventist, raises him with the words of the 10 Commandments. One commandment in particular burns into his soul: "Thou shalt not kill." But his father, a World War I veteran, is a man broken by war. Haunted by the friends he lost, he drowns his pain in whiskey and regret. Desmond grows up watching the war's scars play out in his own home, and he promises himself he will never walk the same path. When Japan attacks Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States erupts into action. Every young man rushes to enlist, including Desmond's own friends and neighbors. And Desmond? He feels the same duty burning in his heart. He wants to serve his country, but his conscience won't let him kill. He finds a path that will allow him to go to war, not as a destroyer, but as a healer. He volunteers for the U.S. Army Medical Corps as a combat medic, a soldier who will go into battle unarmed, carrying bandages instead of bullets. But when he arrives at training camp in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, he finds out that not everyone believes in what he's fighting for. From the first day, he stands out. When the other soldiers grab their rifles, Desmond stands still. He refuses to touch a weapon. He won't even hold one during training. At first, the men laugh. Then they mock him, and finally, they hate him. "Coward," one of them spits. "You're going to get us killed, medic." Even his commanding officers can't understand him. They order him to carry a gun. He refuses. They threaten him with court-martial, try to throw him out. But Desmond doesn't break. He stands his ground quietly, his voice steady. "I can't take a life, but I'll save as many as I can." That quiet conviction earns him no friends, but it earns him respect. Slowly, painfully, his unit begins to see that beneath his gentle voice is a courage far stronger than any rifle could offer. By 1945, Desmond Doss and his unit, the 77th Infantry Division, are sent to the island of Okinawa, the final step before invading Japan and one of the deadliest battles of the entire war. The objective: a towering cliff known as Maeda Escarpment, a fortress of rock and dirt 400 feet high, covered with bunkers, tunnels, and machine gun nests. Soldiers call it Hacksaw Ridge. The Japanese defenders have dug deep into the rock. They are waiting, watching, and when the Americans climb, they will unleash hell. For Desmond, this is no longer training or theory. This is the real thing, the moment that will test everything he believes in. As he looks up at the cliff, he quietly opens his small Bible, the one his wife Dorothy gave him before he left. Inside, she had written just one verse: "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Desmond closes the Bible and whispers, "I'm ready." April 29, 1945. The assault on Hacksaw Ridge begins. Thousands of soldiers claw their way up the cliff using cargo nets, their rifles clanging against metal as they climb into the smoke. The moment they reach the top, machine guns open fire. Men drop instantly. The ground shakes with explosions. The air fills with the sound of death, a sound Desmond will never forget. He hits the ground, crawling through dirt and blood. All around him are men screaming for help, and as bullets tear through the trees above, Desmond begins his work. He wraps wounds with shaking hands. He drags the wounded to safety, pulls them into foxholes, presses his fingers to their necks searching for a pulse. No rifle. No helmet strong enough to stop what's coming. Only faith. He hears the sergeant shout, "Fall back, fall back!" But Doss doesn't move. There are still men up there, men who will die if he leaves. He takes a deep breath and whispers again, "Lord, help me get one more." And then, as the last of his unit retreats down the cliff, Desmond turns back toward the battlefield, alone. Night has fallen on Hacksaw Ridge. Rain mixes with blood. The screams of the dying fade into the wind. Every soldier from Desmond Doss's unit has retreated down the cliff, every man except one. Up there, in the darkness, Doss moves alone. No rifle, no backup, only faith and a prayer. He crawls through mud and shrapnel, his hands trembling as explosions echo in the distance. Each shadow could be an enemy, each step could be his last. Then, a faint voice cuts through the rain. "Medic! Somebody help me!" Desmond follows the sound. He finds a soldier, torn by shrapnel, gasping for breath. The man looks up and can hardly believe what he sees. A medic, alone, unarmed. "Hold on, buddy," Desmond whispers. He presses bandages against the wound, wraps the man's leg, and drags him to the cliff's edge. There, he ties a rope around the man's waist and lowers him down, inch by inch, through smoke and fire, until he reaches the medics below. One life saved. Doss doesn't stop to rest. He whispers, "Lord, help me get one more." And he goes back into the darkness. Hour after hour, Desmond crawls through the battlefield, through mud, through bodies, through fire. He finds a man missing both legs, another with half his face burned, and even one Japanese soldier, barely alive, moaning softly in the shadows. Desmond hesitates for a moment, and then treats him too. Because to Doss, pain has no side. Every life is worth saving. He drags the wounded to the cliff's edge one by one. He ties the rope, lowers them down, and then goes back again. His hands are raw, his knees bleeding, his uniform soaked in blood. But still he whispers the same prayer. "Lord, help me get one more, just one more." Down below, the men of his unit watch in disbelief. Every few minutes, another wounded soldier appears, lowered by a single rope, as if an angel were sending them from the sky. By dawn, they realize what's happening. One man alone is rescuing them all. For 12 hours straight, Desmond Doss moves through the ridge like a ghost. When his rope runs out, he makes new ones. When his hands blister, he wraps them in cloth and keeps going. He refuses to stop. When he's finally spotted by the Japanese, they open fire, but the bullets seem to miss him by inches. He dives for cover, pulling another wounded man with him, pressing against the dirt, whispering another prayer. By sunrise, Desmond has rescued 75 soldiers, American and Japanese alike. He never once picked up a gun. He never once took a life. And when the sun finally breaks through the smoke, he collapses beside the last man he saved, his strength gone, his uniform torn to rags. But even then, as his hands tremble and his eyes close, he murmurs one last time, "Please, Lord, help me get one more." When the men of the 77th Division return to Hacksaw Ridge the next day, they face a terrifying order: climb again. But this time, no one moves without Desmond Doss. "Where's Doss?" the sergeant demands. "We're not going up there without him." The soldiers who once called him a coward now refuse to fight unless their unarmed medic leads them. Desmond bows his head and prays for them all. Only then do they climb. And this time, they take Hacksaw Ridge. On October 12, 1945, at the White House, President Harry S. Truman stands before Desmond Doss. The Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States, shines in the president's hands. Truman looks the quiet soldier in the eye and says, "I'm proud of you. You really deserve this. You stood alone, and you did something no man has ever done before." Desmond simply nods, humble as ever. He doesn't speak much. When reporters ask him how he found the courage to keep going, he answers softly, "It was God's will. I just prayed for the strength to save one more." When the war ends, Desmond returns home to his wife Dorothy. His body is scarred shrapnel still embedded in his flesh, but his spirit remains unbroken. He spends his remaining years quietly, working, farming, and sharing his faith with anyone who asks. He never boasts, never seeks fame. Even when Hollywood eventually tells his story decades later, Desmond simply says, "I only did what I thought was right." Desmond Doss passed away in 2006 at the age of 87. But his story continues to echo across generations. He was the first conscientious objector in U.S. history to receive the Medal of Honor. A man who proved that courage doesn't always come with a weapon. Sometimes it comes with mercy. The soldiers he saved never forgot him. To them, he wasn't just a medic. He was a guardian, a living miracle. And even now, when people visit his grave, they often leave small wooden crosses with just 3 words carved into them. One more, Lord. In a world built on violence, one man chose compassion. In a place filled with death, he brought life. Desmond Doss showed us that faith can be stronger than fear, and that true courage isn't about taking lives, it's about saving them. If this story moved you, remember history is full of hidden heroes like him. Subscribe to Hidden Heroes War Documentaries to uncover more untold stories of courage, sacrifice, and humanity from the battlefields of our past.